Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got a really special explainer for you. This is the latest deep dive in our Mike is Outside research review series, where we take fascinating academic research about the great outdoors and figure out what it actually means for us, out there in the dirt. So grab your favorite trail snack, pull up a chair, and let's get right into it, friend to friend.
I want to start right off the bat with this amazing quote. I feel that I can drop my social identity and become merely a being among all the plant and animal beings. That's from JC. They're an everyday person who recreates in the humboldt Toyabe National Forest. Honestly, read that again. It's pretty powerful, right? I think it perfectly captures that raw, deeply personal reason why we actually lace up our boots and head out into the woods in the first place. We're looking for something much, much deeper.
So that quote brings us to the absolute core purpose of today's explainer. What does it actually mean to truly partner with nature? Well, today we're unpacking an incredible 2026 paper by researcher Solana Kline, and honestly, it completely flips how we study, manage, and ultimately experience the outdoors. It's asking us to stop looking at the environment as just some pretty backdrop and start treating it as an active partner.
Section 1. Let's meet the more than human.
Okay, to understand what it means to actually partner with nature, we need to break down some of the heavy academic jargon in this paper into the relatable concepts I guarantee you've all felt out on the trail. So looking at Kline's research published in the World Leisure Journal, it boldly challenges the standard industrialized view of nature. You know, in industrialized capitalist cultures, the environment is kind of just seen as a commodity or a resource. It's treated like it doesn't have any agency or feeling. But this paper argues that the forest, it's not just a bunch of raw materials waiting to be used. It is a lively, active space.
And that brings us to this absolutely crucial term, more than human, or MTH. Basically, it refers to biological and ecological networks that actively include humans. It means nature is a living, co-productive participant in our experiences. And okay, here's a super fun fact straight from the paper. The guy who first coined this term, David Abram, was a philosopher and anthropologist, but he was actually also an amateur magician, literally. He recognized that our modern technologies often hypnotize us, making us forget our deep sensory connection to the rest of the living world. So the more than human framework is just a reminder that we aren't separate from nature. We're part of the whole shebang.
And I think this brilliantly illustrates how that academic definition translates into a very raw, relatable feeling. One anonymous recreator from the study noted that exploring Forest Service lands fills that space of spirituality in my life. They pointed out that they just do not experience this sensation in an urban environment. They go to the trail to connect with the more than human world. It makes total sense when you put it like that.
Section 2. The Trail Journal Method.
So this brings up a massive challenge. Think about it. If people go to the woods to have these deeply personal, spiritual connections with nature, how in the world do we study them without ruining the moment? Kline solved this using a method called Participant Auto-Ethnographic Trail Journals. I know, it sounds super complex, but it basically boils down to 4 easy steps. First, participants make written or audio notes while they're out recreating. Second, they take photos to trigger sensory memories later. Third, they reflect on their experiences. And fourth, the researcher reflects on all that data asynchronously. It's brilliant, really. It turns everyday trail runners and hikers into the expert data collectors of their own experiences.
But here's a question for you. Why did the researcher completely leave the scene? I mean, in traditional science, the researcher is usually right there hovering with a clipboard, right? Well, during this study, the COVID-19 pandemic severely limited in-person contact, but what started as a pandemic restriction actually became the secret sauce for authentic data. The researcher's absence made space for completely uninterrupted, synchronous engagement between the human and the environment. To really answer why that researcher absence was so absolutely necessary, just look at this quote from a participant named Lila. She says, "Trail time for me is sacred. I really like to feel like I am alone and away from everything." People need that solitude away from other humans to truly connect with their more than human counterparts. Imagine if a researcher had been jogging right next to Lila, peppering her with questions. That sacred connection? Yeah, it would have been totally lost.
Section 3. For the outdoor professionals.
So let's pivot to the so what for the field. I want to speak directly to the park rangers, the land managers, and the outdoor researchers watching this. How does this actually change your day-to-day job? Well, this research forces a massive shift in how professionals view the land they manage. Instead of the industrialized view, where nature is just an inert resource and humans are the only actors that matter, we move to the more than human view. This treats nature as an active, sentient co-producer of space. It's a living partnership. The trees, the rocks, the trails, they're active participants in the recreational experience. For you outdoor professionals out there, the practical takeaways are pretty profound. First, decolonize your research approaches by stepping back. Second, trust everyday recreators as the actual experts of their own embodied experiences. Third, use participant auto-ethnography. Let them self-report their sensory data. And finally, acknowledge that the environment actually has agency and sentience. It isn't just an outdoor gym. It's a co-creator of the whole experience.
And hey, if you're a land manager wondering if the public will even understand this, the answer is a resounding yes. Everyday people already understand this complex framework intuitively the second they hit the trail. Just look at Daryl's journal entry. For me, this was partnering up with nature at its best. Even the ground under my feet felt welcoming. Daryl wasn't just walking on dirt. He literally felt welcomed by the trail itself. It's just a totally different mindset.
Section 4. For your next hike. Now let's bring all these academic concepts right down to the personal level for the everyday trail runner, hiker, or mountain biker watching today. It's so important to remember that these abstract ideas happened in a very real place, right in the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. These recreators were out experiencing a huge variety of climates, ranging all the way from the 4,500-foot decomposed granite basins of Reno right up to the 11,000-foot volcanic clay peaks of the Sierra Nevada mountains. We are talking about real dirt, real elevation, and real connection.
So here's my challenge to you for your next weekend outing. Try out these specific sensory ethnography techniques for yourself. Practice what researcher Bell calls engaged witnessing. Try to experience the world from the environment's perspective. Allow yourself to move at nature's pace for once. Consciously listen to the sound of the trees in the wind, kind of like our friend JC from the start of the explanation. And maybe even try recording your own trail journal. Actually take a moment to feel the agency of the rocks and the dirt beneath your feet.
Because when you do this, something truly amazing happens. You develop this deep empathy. Take Artemisia, for example. She's an avid mountain biker from the study. Because she viewed the trail as a living partner, she actively worried about her impact on the desert environment during the super arid summer weather. Feeling a connection with nature naturally leads to a profound desire to protect it, and not just because it's a rule on a sign, but because you care for a partner.
Section 5. Join the next review.
Well, that brings us to the end of our journey today. I really hope this deep dive has given you a totally new lens through which to view your time in the woods. If you enjoyed this, I highly encourage you to check out more explainers in the Mike is Outside Research Review series. We absolutely love taking these complex, brilliant pieces of outdoor research and bringing them straight to you so we can all become better, more connected humans out there on the trails. I want to leave you with just this one thought. The next time you step onto a trail, ask yourself, will you walk on it merely as a resource? Or will you walk with it as a living partner? Get out there, be safe, and I'll see you in the next explainer.